So here we are, looking out the dream window. What do you see?
It's a warm, sunny day. I see this green hillside, lush, tropical. So much green. There's this little gecko. It's walking through the blades of grass. You know, to him it is a jungle, but to him, it's a super jungle.
Where's the gecko heading?
He's going uphill, you know. The fresh berries are, maybe 100 meters away, but to a gecko, that's kind of like a nice morning walk to work, a good 3-kilometer jaunt.
Do geckos eat berries?
I think geckos do eat fruits.
Like if a gecko had a peach, is that like a gecko set for life?
I think a peach would keep a gecko cool for about a fortnight, a week and a half.
And then slowly the fruit would turn rotten before it could finish it, and then it would ferment, and you'd have drunken geckos.
Drunk gecko's a good time. It's a lot of falling.
A lot of taking their tails off and growing them back. That's the party trick.
It's the gecko party trick. Hey! Remember when Bill got wild, lost his tail yesterday?
Just wake up the next morning. You know, we lose our car keys. Geckos are like, God damn it, where is my tail?
Not again. It's like, not again.
How am I going to get to work without a tail?
Well, you do. It's just the other geckos are making fun of you. You know, it's more of a, what did you do last night?
Yeah, there's no way of hiding that you were eating a fermented peach when you show up to work the next day with no tail.
Yeah, you can't say exactly. It's like when you start your first jobs in your 20s and you're showing up completely just hungover, and there's just no way hiding it. Everyone knows. They let you get away with it for a while, but just as long as it doesn't become a pattern.
Right.
You know, the gecko doesn't have a tail every morning. The other geckos are talking.
We all have birthdays. There's a holiday once a month. It's okay to show up without a tail, but when it's every week...
Do you have a problem?
You're coming in without a tail with this big story. The other geckos are like, don't try to give me a tail for your missing tail.
You smell like rotten fruit.
Your family's disappointed.
You gotta get your life together, gecko.
Gecko.
Get your gecko life together.
Yeah, gecko, you're blowing it. What would a gecko job be?
Insect patrol.
So, I was wondering, so how's your leaky ear doing, George?
Oh, dude. Well, yeah, I was supposed to. Thank you for following up on that. I was due to see my ear, nose, and throat doctor on Tuesday, but they canceled that because he has surgery, so I'm not going to see him for another, not until next month.
Oh, really?
So it's another month before I get to maybe get to the end of this.
How long has this been now?
The slime ear. It's
3 months?
No, this started in August of last year. There's a very, very high chance this will go a year.
What?
Of a
leaky ear?
Of medical trauma, and it still leaks.
What?
But it's much more like a trickle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a Niagara. It was a Niagara Falls before. Like they would literally have these like foam. Like there was this like slime foam.
Like your ear had rabies?
Aerosol that happened when the foam would hit my shoulder. The ear, the slime would hit the shoulder and kind of burst up into the air, and then that would make that aerosol of slime. So this cloud of slime, that's how powerfully it was coming out of my ear. It's
a real jogger's injury. The runny ear.
The runny ear.
But really, your ear was running like a nose, basically, right?
And that's it would be running while it was like at its worst point. Yeah, it would be leaking while I was running. Like it was a real problem.
Was it yellow? Like
yes. It was yellow. That yellow, the telltale signs of infection,
right?
Which not one person wanted to put on their spectrum of diagnostic tools. They were like, no, we're going to ignore the fact that
they were saying it was just fine at first.
They were saying it was just earwax.
You just got a buildup of earwax.
That's what the hack said. He's like, just some earwax.
Yeah. What is that with like doctors just dismissing things? Like, I don't have medical training, but if your shoulder is drenched from stuff leaking out of your ear.
And that was a shocking thing about it, was people kept on telling me it seems normal.
It seems normal.
They're like unusual, but maybe that's just you doing you.
What is that with doctors? They're always in a rush to. It's always like they're trying to rush you to get to the next person to rush. Like,
well,
where are they getting to that they're in a rush to get more rushing?
I think they just want to get rid of you. And if you think about how many
but there's just another version of a you coming next. Like, it's just another sick person that annoys them. It's not like they're like, finally, Miss Stevenson. They hate her too.
But in Canada, you get paid by the piece.
Oh, really? Do you think that's part of it? Like, is there...
I think, like I said, a little bit of column A, that you get paid by the piece. Mm-hmm. But I think the column B to that whole thing is... well, the interesting event at our house, cat news.
What's the cat news
segment? Cat news. It's cat the best news. Cat news. News you can use. Cat news. Yeah. The one thing about Bad Baby, Bad Baby Cat is.
You should introduce Bad Baby to the world.
Bad Baby Cat is my cat. We live in a blended cat household with my cat, Bad Baby Cat, and my partner's cat, Zoe's cat, whose name is Titus.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bad Baby Cat is this very cute, three-legged, blind, but doll of a cat. And really, she's like a doll. She's the best because you can just pick her up and put her anywhere. She poses, and in a weird way, because she's blind. No, she makes for the best shots because you just give her a Bad Baby, and then she'll just like
sound.
Turn right to the sound of your voice and freeze.
But isn't she deaf too?
Well, she's obviously not deaf. Right. They sold her as being that
was on the list of things it could do. Be deaf.
Yeah, they sold it as this tragically everything is wrong with this cat. It needed $5,000.
Parkinson's too, right? Shakes.
They threw in Parkinson's in there, and all of this was just a salacious rumor for me to get the cutest cat in the world. And so that's Bad Baby, my cat. Titus is an orange cat. Yeah. Male, as most orange cats are male. Mm-hmm. And he's just, he has problems with me. I think he has just father figure issues.
Yeah.
He had a single mom who kind of spoiled him.
Yeah.
And so now he's always kind of this constant fight with me where he's looking at me like, you're not my dad.
Yeah.
You're not my real dad. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're a cat. I couldn't care less, Titus. I find you charming on cat levels, but he's really just like, I'll never love you. Meow.
Feed me. I feel like if a cat was to say its first word, it would meow so hard it would speak. Like, it would be like, meow, 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 now. I said now. It would be like, what just happened? This is a poem. I have an itchy beard. The end.
You look at plants and are they alive and dead? And there's this one plant and I'm like, I have a feeling it was just pretty much just a stick, but there's this little bit of green on it. And I'm like, you know what? I think that one. And you put it aside. I put it into a new small pot, watering that one every day. Now it has 3 or 4 giant leaves on it, and unlike my cat, it can't sit there just going meow meow, but I kind of feel like it was just saying, dude, just stick with me for another 3 weeks and I swear I'm gonna do okay.
Well, when you see like a plant start growing towards the sun, you see it's like almost personality. It's like desire to live.
Oh, absolutely. And it's saying the same cues to you, but you just have to be
I got a basil plant a while ago, and it's the first time I've had a plant growing for me, and I feel kind of bad eating the leaves now.
I don't want to go into my bad basil story. Remember my basil from last year?
Yeah,
that
I remember.
Basil?
Because it seemed like it was by another plant and it absorbed somehow.
Yeah, I think it was a bad mix.
Or did like a seed from another thing get mixed in with the soil?
I've never seen basil like this,
Yeah.
Hart. And I remember I gave you some.
It's funny, you kind of wrote basil off after that, because I said I was getting the basil plant. You're like, don't bother. Basil will break your heart.
That basil broke. And so, you know what? I understood how you felt until I got that bad basil. And now I'm like basil racist. You know what I mean? It's like
you're anti-basil. You're like one basil wronged you.
One basil wronged you, and now I'm going to slur the entire basil community.
You're just slandering basil
over an anecdotal story that I had with.
So you've never got another basil plant since then?
No, that was last summer.
Yeah,
that was last summer.
I implore you to give basil another try.
If basil's coming back, it's going in its own pot, away from my other stuff. That's what's basil. You're on your own.
Yeah, basil's got to work through its issues on its own.
Basil needs to go to therapy. Basil needs to put in the work.
Well, it tasted totally different. But was it normal at first? Like the normal, because there's so many different basils. There's like the Thai basil that I've accidentally got, and then it tastes like licorice.
And I went to my basil guy. I just don't buy basil anywhere. I'm not buying half of that garbage supermarket basil.
Is his name Basil?
His name is not Basil. No, that would just remind me too much of John Cleese.
So he doesn't scream constantly.
Doesn't scream, and he's very proud of his of his basil selection, of all those fresh herbs that you want to put in your garden. He's like, I told him, I'm like, yours is the best. And he's like, I know.
I'm a basil boy.
I know. And I like that from my fruit guy. I like it. I want to be out there tasting other people and be like, this is garbage. I can understand why people go there.
Yeah. I love it when you go to like a fruit stand and you're like, which of these taste, like which mangoes taste good? And he's like, that one. And because it's always, I'm not that good at, I'm always amazed, like why are there like 3 types of mangoes and 2 of them don't taste good, and you get like tricked in what is this? I obviously want the juicy sweet one, not the bitter
mango.
Yeah.
It's like, why did they even make bitter mango?
Yeah, why? I remember I had this thing where I could not get a pair of headphones that sounded good at Jean Coutu last summer at like the Shoppers Drug Mart. I'd buy the one, the little string ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd buy like these headphones, put them in, and they'd sound terrible. Then they wouldn't take them back because they're like, we don't take back things that have been in ears. Probably because of like people like you with runny ears buying headphones, taking them back covered in ear juice.
They're like, no more.
Yeah, we're done. More. But like, why make headphones that don't sound good? Like, who is the one who's like, give me the shitty headphone? I had to go to the bathroom in an alley the other day, and I go into this alley to take a leak, and it used to be like no matter what was going on in my life, when I was in an alley, I felt like I was doing at least okay. Like I wasn't the worst off in the alley. And now when I went into this alley the other day, there's just women with their children everywhere, and I realized I was doing the worst in this alley. Like I don't know what happened, but it used to be that at least I could feel good in an alley. Like, you know what? At least I'm not the worst off in an alley. And now I'm the worst off in an alley. What happened?
I like how your life completely, you gentrified your life. You're like, even though you completely switched neighborhoods, you're kind of like, well, what happened? Everything got a lot nicer.
Right. I just moved 2 months ago to a nicer neighborhood. Yeah, you're right. That alley still, I have biked by that alley recently. Yeah. So it's the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So alleys haven't changed. I've changed neighborhoods.
You change neighborhoods, and people all live in their backyards here and have like gorgeous alleys. So yeah, you just can't go there and piss because people live in almost.
When you were looking for my cat, you called it a green alley, right? Yeah. I love that term, green alley.
I mean, but that's plants, like, no, this is. Yeah. I mean, this neighborhood just has some of the nicest.
You're right. The alleys here are nicer than my old apartment. Like, it would be better to live in the alley here than my own apartment at the old place.
You know, I left England at 4 and came to North America, you know, basically when I was starting school. So the whole wanting to fit in, I quickly, I knew I just...
At 4 at the daycare, you were crying?
I was crying, and I think... And I was like, Mommy, look at that lorry over there. I want to go into a lift. And the other kids were more like, who is this kid? And I realized I'm talking funny, and I better stop talking funny because the kids are looking at me with that type of Lord of the Flies intensity in their eyes.
Where is like that human nature of like a group of children either singling out one that's different? Is that learned from the parents, do you think? Or is that like
I think that's much more deeper animal, behavior of just, us being social beings. And, and that's, the fear of being different, that is going to hurt the tribe. And in our hunter-gatherer days, the odd person out, usually that meant physically. Maybe you just had some type of small mutation, small arm, club foot, but that would make you, you just wouldn't be a good hunter. And so looking for that uniformity meant that you're going to have a healthier tribe.
I'm listening to an audiobook on medieval times, not the restaurant.
Have you ever been to that? I've never
been to it.
Good. See, that's why we like each other.
Yeah, that's what we're united on. I watched this documentary on Caligula, and they say how terrible he is, but even like the nicest person of those times, just for entertainment, watched people be hung. Like, by definition, the best person of those times is like a sociopath of these times. Like,
I'd like to take that further. I mean, you're like medieval times. I mean, just music industry in the 80s and 70s. The music
industry was terrible in the medieval times.
It was terrible in medieval times, but in the 80s, like any artist who had a BMI over 28, like you had to put fat in the name.
BMI?
Your body mass index. There's that, who's that, Sylvester, that legendary DJ from San Francisco, but his backup singers who became like some of the best studio musicians ever, they were called 2 Tons of Fun. But that was the shame of how you had to sell yourself in the 80s. Record executives would put the word fat in your name. We are
Hart and George, and this is Dream Window.
Follow us,
like us,
comment,
love us.
And where can they find us, Hart?
Find us on Apple Podcasts,
YouTube,
Spotify, and all the other major platforms.
This is Dream Window.
This is Hart.
I'm George.
Good night.